Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Recollection Step, a Grand Archive TCG podcast, part of the Maindeck podcast family. I'm Dan, and returning again.
I'm Taylor.
Yeah, sorry, I know I cut you off. That's not the usual. You're ready to jump in.
I was. Oh, I didn't even realize we were still doing this, to be honest.
You thought we had actually permanently kicked you off the podcast.
I thought it was just, I was like, I guess I'm done now. It's fine, but it's okay. No,
we're happy to have you back.
I'm happy to be back. Thank you. Perfy and David did an excellent job. Those were some good episodes. Getting in, I was very, very happy to have the Thursday nights back when we normally record to get ready for London. Even though I didn't really do anything with the extra preparation, apparently.
It didn't pan out,
I
unfortunately.
scrubbed out, but Alex and Mitch and Garethos all day 2'd, so that was good. They all placed within 3 spots of each other, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But London itself was kind of just a blast. I mean, I feel like there's a million things I could talk about because it's been forever since I've actually recorded with you guys. But we won't talk about a million things because we'll keep it to a reasonable length so that you guys can listen to this and go on about your day. But London was sweet. I don't think we hadn't had a chance to talk about London at all because we haven't recorded since then. So we had all that cool stuff. We're not going to go dive into it too much just because I don't want to rehash too much from your meta video that you released earlier this week.
Yeah, we did cover the top 8, covered all that stuff, but we didn't really talk about the Maindeck team. I think that'd be the most interesting thing to talk about is our team build. You did get to show it off on stream once, which was nice.
Yeah. Yep. Opened up round 1 up against Herman and played into Win Diana. I was very curious what it was going to be right away. He thought it was going to be a mirror. I thought it was going to be a mirror, but we both thought it was going to be different mirrors.
Right. That's funny.
But yeah, that went well. And then, the rest of it, the day started off pretty strong. I started 3-0 and 1. And then I just ran into all the Tristans in the world after that. So my day 1 didn't end quite as well, but we had settled on Seiryuu kind of as the deck to play for the most part, as what would be the default pretty early on in testing. Before Christmas, even we were just very much we've got this. We like our build a lot. We like it into a lot of the field. And so that was just kind of in our back pocket the whole time, which was nice because that let us explore quite a bit with the rest of the format. Mitch obviously brought a version of CL, Fire CL, that he has been really tinkering with for a while. He really likes. And I think that's pretty strong and offers a lot of play into a lot of the field as well. And then we spent I guess it was the week leading up to it trying to make this Wind Alice deck work. That deck
it got covered by speaking of David, our friends at Careful Study. They did do a video talking about it now.
Yes. Yep.
So the cat's out of the bag, but that deck is was not okay. Simultaneously, it was not good enough to bring to an Ascent, we thought, but it was also the most toxic experience that we've had playing Grand Archive.
It was so disgusting. It was so dumb. I think Fern had found it on the main court at one point, and we took it from there. And you're basically just playing a bunch of items that draw cards, Focusing Round and Forest Cake and other stuff. And then you're getting to level 2 with Alice, and then you're playing Imperious Galebind to suppress these items and draw 2 extra cards, net 2 cards off of each Galebind you play. And then you're playing whatever the trinket is called that lets you banish a card and make it an omen so that you
Condemned trinket
so that you can Grim Pastiche Galebind and do this more. And then of course, since you're Spectre Alice, you have your Phantasmagoria out so you can haunt and reset your graveyard and get these cycled back into your deck to draw again. And you go through so many cards, but none of them do anything.
Yeah, the deck literally gets to the point grinding the game out, and you might go like, how does it get there? It's like it has a million ways to stealth, recover, whatever. It just like doesn't die. And then it gets to the point where it just gets to, if it wants to, stack its deck like completely. And then you just never lose.
Yeah, it's horrible. And it turns out that like pressure backed up by incapacitate really does a number on this deck. So like Tristan's pretty good into it. And so that was like a no-no for Europe because there's a million Tristan players over there.
As Taylor found out.
Yep.
Well, we knew, but as Taylor experienced.
Yeah. We thought our like Seiryuu list was set up pretty well to fight Tristan, but I don't think we had really taken into account how much Tristan there was going to be. And I think too, a lot of our games were like our test games. We had the cards we wanted to see, like Shimmercloak Assassin, or it's not Assassin. What is it? Shimmercloak.
Shimmercloak Assassin.
Is it just Assassin? Whatever. It doesn't. Shimmercloak. You guys know all I'm talking about. The 2/2 stealth. Awesome automaton.
Shimmercloak Assassin. You made me doubt myself for a second there. Like, yeah, it is. Right?
I don't know. I'm trying to forget about that card now because it lulled us into a false sense of security. But we had our Shimmercloaks and they didn't have their Sadies, and so like that matchup is okay at that point. But if you don't have your Shimmercloaks and they do have their Sadies, that matchup kind of blows. Or even if like one part of that equation is missing. So I think kind of like lessons learned here is just check your priors, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be something to talk about here in that, like later on in the main topic of today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Seiryuu builds that did top in London. And we brought we brought a more aggressive, an ally focused variant of Seiryuu, which is akin to the Seiryuu decks that our team has been playing ever since like Boston, I would say, if not before.
Yep.
And those builds certainly have their pros and cons. And like we had really cool tech, I talked about it a little on stream, even though it didn't really come up, but the Primal Whip tech.
Oh, Primal was actually like really good.
Yeah. Like Primal Whip in that build is extremely good. And it's so weird to say that about Primal Whip, but Primal Whip is I guess I should say for the audio listeners, a 1-cost regalia that is a 1/3 weapon. They're 3, right?
Yep.
3 durability. Yep. And it has on attack, you get to give +1 power to up to 2 non-human allies, which includes things like Brisk Windtrotter, Shimmercloak Assassin, and Seiryuu itself as well. Yep. And the whole reason you would run that is because, well, number one, it just does give you like damage pushing lines to be able to close the game.
Yep.
But it gets a bunch of things over the threshold of Calming Breeze, like your Staggering Strike that you get to run to try and stop Tristan.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And it was sweet. It played really well throughout the weekend. So I definitely recommend that. And the other thing that we had with it too was Quicksilver Grail, so that you could control the banishes a little bit more, but then it also lets you like bluff some Enfeebling Orb tech too. And just has like a couple different options in the deck that are really nice, which is, I think, a pretty huge upgrade over Lost Providence, because it just, by the time you can play Lost Providence, you don't need the extra card. Like you're already going to go into your next turn and probably play Incandescent Reliquary by the time you can play Lost Providence. And then you're going to draw that extra card anyway. So, and you're just going to refill your hand so fast that Lost Providence is actually not really getting you much. However, we'll see later on how you do still want a bunch of cards in that list, and there's better ways to go about it, I think.
Right.
Like Lost Providence is just like, I think, the third choice for like Seiryuu Divine Relics now. And
I agree with that. And some people are going to hear that and think that's sacrilegious, because a lot of people are in the cult of the Lost Providence right now. But yeah, like, not to bury the lead or anything, but our conversation, because you already saw in the title, our conversation is about high influence builds, because they really became something in London that people are paying attention to right now. They're having a moment. And I just wanted to draw like a contrast, because we did bring a Seiryuu deck, but ours, we weren't following this kind of new wave of thought. And I think it was to our detriment to have not built in that same way. So we're going to talk about that, talk about like how those decks operate, and also take this opportunity just to talk about something we've talked about in the past, but reiterate this fact that influence and when you gain it, very important. And the impact influence has on your game. That's the reason why Lost Providence is the third choice and not the first for Seiryuu.
Yes. But before we get into that, we did have Mortal Ambition Alter Edition release right after London as well. We had that release in time for the Fargo Regional at JWW Sports Cards and More. So that was pretty sick.
Sports Cards and Gaming,
excuse me.
Every time Theo puts out the regional list, he lists it as on the official Grand Archive website. He lists it as, I think, JWW Sports Cards and Entertainment or something. And I don't know where he got that. And I guess I don't know if I've ever even specifically corrected him. It just makes me laugh every time, and I just figure he'll fix it, but I don't think he does. But maybe he'll listen to this, and he will now.
Theo, if you're listening, please update the listing to JWW Sports Cards and Gaming instead of Sports Cards and Entertainment.
But it makes me laugh, so I've never bothered to fix it.
Anyway, so yeah, Mortal Ambition Alter Edition released. There's been like, I don't know, a toss-up on whether people think it's going to be impactful or not. There's some like a couple standout cards that I think are good and will kind of elevate a couple existing archetypes. But I think some that are like slipping under the radar a little bit. People have identified them as powerful, but maybe not quite enough to really do what they want them to do. But I think these cards are enough to really just put over like Jin allies specifically. And like these, I think, have not had the attention they deserve. We saw Maindeck Jeremy High Tech take a Wind Exia Jin list with a lot of these cards to a top cut finish at the Fargo Regional and get an invite with them. But Huazhong, Leading Charge, also Lunge of Evoking Winds, like these are all really powerful cards in that list and really let you do some dumb things. And then obviously you've got Polearm Steed too to help Jin recoup a little bit of tempo without having to like get some extra materialize phases to try and get some of these pole arms out and actually take advantage of his level 1 and level 2 effects. So all these just really like kind of combine to make a very strong ally focused like mid-range build that has a pretty good late game in Exia still.
Yeah. Here's something funny that happened recently. If you out there, listener, are one of the multi-GA podcast listeners, you may have already listened to the recent True Champion Gaming podcast where they discussed how the weekend of the release of Mortal Ambition, there was only one player who played any Mortal Ambition cards, and it was Sano playing Blinding Lapse in the sideboard of Seiryuu. And then you now just heard Taylor saying that we had a regional the weekend of release where we had a player top 8 with 5 different Mortal Ambition altar cards, 4 in the main, 1 in the side. The Scarlet Tassel was in the side. That, listener, is my fault. I did not click to end the tournament on our regional that took place that Saturday. It was entirely my bad. I forgot to do it. We were rushing out because we had our usual, every time we do a regional, we do a community dinner, and they had just freed up tables and we were trying to get over there. And I did everything except click end tournament. So, and I did not get to end it until 2 days later on Monday. And I believe True Champion records on Sunday nights. I believe that's the recording time. So from everything they knew, that was true, that there was only Sano. But what I knew was the truth, that Jeremy, our boy, made up 5/6 of the played Mortal Ambition cards that weekend.
Yeah, it's actually wild. I didn't unfortunately get to see any of his games, but like from what I could tell, like he was hitting for a lot pretty early. Like, yeah.
I talk about this in the video.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to go into in depth, but I'm going to just tell everyone to reread Huashang and reread Leading Charge and think about what happens when you put a 2/4 with Vigor into play that can pitch Floating Memory to prevent 2. And then you combine that with one of those Floating Memory attacks, having a base power 4, it becomes 6 power and becomes 2 cost when Huashang's in play. It's just like if Huashang sits in play, the numbers for this deck go kind of wild, and it happens while you're just like setting up float to level with. And so it ends up being a strategy. Like, I think people are, I listened to Careful Study's recent podcast too, and Steve-O and David were all about, who are teammates of ours, so we've talked about this too, but they're all about like ally focused strat, low level strat. Like they said, go to 2 just to, just for reach, just to push it. And I think that's a viable strategy as well. But like, you're going to be pitching, there's actually 3 Floating Memory attacks, because we just looked at Savage Sunder. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Taylor?
Yes.
It's an Exia attack that has on hit recover 5 and has class bonus Floating Memory. And it's a polearm attack. So you have at least 12 Floating Memory polearm attacks in Wind that you can use with Huashang, which is a lot. That's pretty consistent.
And none of them are actually like embarrassing to just throw out for damage either, is the best part. Like,
no,
Leading Charge will hit for 6 with Huashang. Lunge of Evoking Winds, like, doesn't actually hit for a lot, but it does get you a lot of tempo back.
It gets your cards back, right?
Yes.
So like you can do a lot on that turn.
Yep.
And still hold up interaction, still hold up Reclaim. Like Jeremy's list is playing things like Reclaim. Like, okay, fine. They commit everything to get the Huashang off the board because they can't leave it on, because Huashang on the board creates basically better than heavy swing attacks. Like you get 6 power 2 cost attacks before you add a polearm in. That then Jin's buffs Huashang, so she hits for 3. Like your opponent can't leave that in place. So they have to commit everything to kill it. And you just go, cool, Reclaimer.
Yep. It's just dumb. It's very strong. I think there's a lot of room to innovate with this list and to build from it. Like, this is very much a first draft. So if you're looking at this, definitely feel free to play around with different cards and different numbers and stuff, and look at things, because there's a lot of room for growth here for sure. And not to say that Jeremy didn't do a good, first job here, because obviously he clearly did. Yeah. It's right there. He got the top cut and got the invite. This list kind of rules. So definitely take a look.
Yeah. I want to just be on the record as I think Mortal Ambition Ultra Edition is going super underrated right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think across the board, there's a lot of cards that are just really solid. And I think the thought process was, do any of these, every content creator has approached this with, do these change the metagame? And a lot of them, no, but they're going to like buff up, certain strategies just a little bit. But I think the Jin package in particular, entirely underrated by everyone. I had a video though that I couldn't post because I did not record audio for it. So unfortunately I can't prove anything, because all you can do is watch me yapping, but nothing comes out. But that video Taylor was helping me with was a more positive video about A&B Ultra, because we were both like, I think these cards are good, but still we were underrating the Jin cards.
Oh, easy. Like, yeah.
We both were like, Lunch seems okay. I don't know about Huashang.
Yeah.
But that's actually the good stuff, and the rest is also like pretty solid. So I think it's a good set overall.
I think Mortal Ambition is incredibly underrated right now, and like, if you see any of these cards going for cheap, like, snag them up, because they're gonna get stonked big time, I think. But on top of that, we also had a Proxia's Vault release that same week with Sablemere Warden's Grips, which is a new water regalia for Nico to help her generate an Icebound Slam into her memory, a la Mantle of the Abyss for Alice. This is also an incredibly strong card, which I think is going to breathe a lot of new life into Nico. And honestly, the Icebound Slam part isn't even like the best part of this card. It's that
it isn't.
You get to put a ton of lash counters on your champion. You can put anywhere from like 1 to 5 pretty reliably onto Nico, which just really sends her Whipblade, Magebane Lash into overdrive, and does a ton of work there. Maindeck Alex also brought a Nico list to the Fargo Regional and piloted that to second place off of the back of Sablemere. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. There's, again, a lot of different ways, I think, to build Nico now. There's a very different list from what Alex played that took 10th at the core TCG regional. That was playing things like Slice and Dice and a bunch of prep counter generation on top of Sablemere. So definitely a ton of different ways you can build Nico now too, but Sablemere is just kind of a bonkers card. And then sometimes you also just get to Icebound Slam and hit them for 8 and generate a ton of value still. So like, it's good. It costs 5 in Nico, right? Yeah. Like we're used to paying 7 for this, and it costs 5 now. So
I mean, it's this combination of the fact that what Alex told me was Sablemere, he most often would just play it past turn, doesn't have to do anything on the opponent's turn, nothing's pressing, goes to his rec and just like slams his entire memory down, bumps suddenly 5 lash counters onto Nico. And like, this allowed him to play through Censor, a restful piece, and not care. The opponent like can materialize Censor against Nico list. And like, I think this is the strength, right? Is they go, oh, it's Nico. Okay, cool. I got to get out Censor. I got to stop the Ravishing Finale from being able to be played because you need to banish Float as a cost. So he plays Censor and he goes, neat. I'm just going to put 5 lash counters on now and start attacking you with my Magebane Lash. And it literally doesn't matter that the Censor's in play. You get your opponent to kind of almost waste a materialize phase because now they're not, you're maneuvering around what the problem is, right? And you're creating a threat either way. If they don't put it down, sure, then you could do all the Nico things. If they do put it down, you just go, okay, well, I'll slam you with a Magebane Lash for 13 or something or more. Like,
it's dumb.
What do you do now?
Yep. And like, you still have the alternate activation cost of just like paying 3 reserve to activate it if your opponent has 3 or more in the graveyard too, which I don't actually think came up that often this weekend. But I think it gets like certain matchups, it's going to be very good. This, specifically like stuff like Tristan or whatever that has not good ways to interact with your Regalia. You just get a free materialize then, right? So
yep.
Card is dumb, yeah. Nico's going to do some really cool things with it, and it's pretty baller. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I love the design. I think it addresses all the things Nico needed, and in ways that people aren't necessarily thinking of. Like everyone's like, "Oh, cool! It gives you Icebound Slam." Like you said, Taylor, that's like
I don't know, the third best part of the card.
yeah. Like I said, it's about being able to play through the opponent, like having her number out of the material deck. And I want to see more of that. Like in Grand Archive, this is my favorite thing, is that like our material decks are so packed with answers to things, but the game is so much more creative and interesting when I put out an answer, you put out an answer to the answer, and now I have to answer the answer to the answer. That's what I like seeing, that kind of stuff. So it gives her a really good way to actually do that. And I think will help bring her to relevancy again.
Definitely. In that same banned and restricted announcement that brought us Sablemere, there were no changes to Cat 3, so that was cool. No banned cards. The format is awesome right now. It's so much fun. I don't think there's anything to ban. They did announce like a new Category 1 philosophy, which I don't think we're going to really dive into too much. I think a lot of people have talked about that already, but they did end up adding like 7 cards to Category 1 because of that. But I imagine these cards are just going to sit there forever, the same way like Dream Fairy has for 2 years now. And
I think it depends a little on the card.
We'll see. Like, I mean, if like they get abused, they're obviously going to, bump up. And like, I think that there's some that are more likely to jump up to Cat 2 and 3 more quickly than other ones. But like, basically the philosophy boils down to like, these are cards that are not necessarily going to continue to move up categories now. They're just like, again, like they're just giving players more idea of like kind of what they're thinking of, like where their head is with the design space and what could potentially be problematic in the future. And like again, it's just like, yeah, we're watching these cards, and like if they get to be an issue, we'll take care of them. They might not become an issue ever, but like these are kind of things we're top of our mind at the moment, right?
I think I'm going to give my speculation briefly just on where this list comes from at this point. And just to preface, this is just my personal speculation, and I don't have anything secret backing this information. I think the developers have now seen people play with their cards for a long enough time. Yep. And there's two sides to making a card game. Like, you'll make a card game and you and your group of testers will play the card game one way. And then you'll give it to thousands of players and they might play it that way, or they might play it a different way. And you don't have a lot of control over that. And so that's where a lot of development problems come from. I think some card game players out there get a little wrapped up in this concept of there was one way to play this game and you guys missed it and you are idiots because of that. That is sometimes been the case, but is not often the case, I would say. Often it's a card was made in the way that the game was played internally. It was fine. And then in the way players started to play the game, or the way players rallied around is the correct way to play the game, when it got to everyone, then it was not okay. Then it became a problem. And I think it's totally fair to say, well, whatever way everyone plays it is the relevant way to play the game. And that's like the quote unquote correct way to play the game. Because you can't stop people's nature, right? There's at some point you give it to people, you give them Rile the Abyss, they're going to rile the Abyss. They're going to rile. Yep. Players going to, because it's good. And, we're talking about drawing cards today, and yep, it makes sense. So a card that might have been fine internally ended up not being fine. I think what this list is, all right, we've seen what you guys are doing. These are the cards that we think are, based on how you are playing the game, the most potentially problematic. There's a couple in there like Alcahest that are like, yeah, like we kind of designed this differently now. That's not the way we want to make these things work kind of going forward. Hopefully they just are consistent with that. But there are cards in there, Ranger's Strides, for example. You guys are doing silly things with this. And did they miss it? Maybe. Or did they play more interactive decks and they just answered it every time? Maybe. I don't know. But fact is, people are doing silly things with some of these cards. And if they get too silly, they're going to get banned. And it's just kind of an admission of like, here are the things that you guys do that are some of the most powerful, egregious things. And whether it doesn't matter who, if they made a mistake or not, or whatever, if it's just the way people play. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter now, but these are the ones to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So I wouldn't worry about any of these cards at all. I would say if someone offers you a bet of like $100 that one of these cards is going to be banned in a year, depending on the card, take that bet for sure. I would not take that bet for, say, like for instance on Make Duality. I would say that's a bad one.
Oh, really?
Well, this one, yeah. I mean, the reasoning they give is like they're worried about it becoming like a default over GCR, right? With Lost the Looking Glass. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think you could potentially see this one go away specifically because like it takes GCR out of the like default Divine Relic slot.
I think my brain didn't work and I thought you were saying, and my fault. I thought you were saying that this will definitely not get banned.
No. I'm saying this is not a safe one. This is not. Yeah. No, don't take that one. But if it's like, this one. If it's like maybe like Baby Green, I would probably take that bet. It's like Baby Green is like mostly fair, and it's just 100% an interactive piece. It doesn't really push too much offense either through the act of like generating like influence or through like pushing damage. All it is just like kind of either stopping what your opponent is doing, or I guess it kind of like draws a card with Forest Cake, but like it just replaces itself at that point. So it's not like it's actually accruing anything for you. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I would take that one either. That one, like, these all feel a lot less safe than Dream Fairy, for instance. So
Taylor's just trying to reference the fact that he did win $100 on a bet about whether or not Dream Fairy would be banned in a year.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like give people some perspective on where these cards could go, you know?
Yeah. And I agree.
I think these are all I would say less safe than Dream Fairy. Like these are all more likely to move up than Dream Fairy is. So
I would say across the board. Yeah.
Maybe not Reliquary. I don't know. Reliquary, I think is like the Reliquary is the one that sticks out to me as like the why is this here card.
I think Reliquary is the safest bet to win $100 against someone who thinks it will be banned.
I agree.
This is not financial advice. Do I have to say that? I'm going to say it anyway. But
where's our FanDuel sponsorship, by the way? Where is this?
True. Just briefly, I think Unmake Duality is reaching into the thing I was talking about just a minute ago of everyone's going to play a certain way, myself included. I'm not being like, you guys are silly. Like, I'm going to be on Make Duality-ing a lot of Looking Glasses.
Yep.
Because of the big main topic we're about to talk about. And I think it probably shouldn't exist. I think that card missed the mark.
Yeah, I think Unmake is just too ubiquitous at this point. But
yeah,
that's enough of that. That's enough ban list talk. I hate talking about banning cards.
You didn't want to talk about it, and then I made you talk about it. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
It's all right.
No, go listen to the Careful Study podcast. They just did an episode where they went through all of them, and I kind of agree with a lot of the things they say, but maybe not all of them, but that's part of the fun of being on a big diverse team. But still, you can get their opinions. Steve-O and David will give you their opinions on all this stuff. And then you can comment down below if you want my particular opinions, because Taylor won't let me talk about it more.
Yep. We're moving on. We've got things to talk about. We've got things to inform listeners about, like how they can help support the channel and, how they can really help Maindeck grow and continue to be a force in Grand Archive.
Hey, absolutely. There is one super easy way that you can help us, which is you can leave a like on the video. You can comment down below with what card you want, what card you think from the ban list that you want me to talk about, that I think whether I think it will or won't be banned. Or you can just comment ask me what I played at locals last week, because Taylor did not do that in this episode. Thankfully, because he knows that I did.
Yes, exactly.
Locals last week. I was running a regional. I had to judge the regional. But also, you can subscribe if you need to get more Grand Archive content in your life and you want it to come from us. And that super, super helps a lot. So thank you for doing that. You can leave a 5-star review if you're on a podcast platform. That's slightly more work than all those other things, but it's a really fun thing that you can do. You can say, man, I love these guys. It's so nice to have Taylor back. I thought he was dead forever, but this earned my review because Taylor's back.
Oh, thank goodness. At least I'm not dead.
It would give me it would make me leave a 5-star review if I saw that Taylor was back again. The other way you can help us is you can go order your Radiant Origins from jwwcards.com. And we got some bundles up there. We got some good deals. You want to get the Pantheon decks. You want to get the Mordred Recollection deck. You want to get boxes of RDO product, because we just saw another Ultimate spoiled for Alice, which basically teased that Alice is going to have access to an advanced element of some kind, which I think she's not going to get one of the original advanced elements per se. I think it's possible she gets a level 3 that's just Exalted. What do you think of that, Taylor? It
would be the funniest thing in the entire world if she just did not get a level 3.
No, she has. Well, she has to have an advanced element unlocked in order to play her new ultimate card.
That's she somehow,
but it could just be Exalted itself, because it is an advanced element.
Yeah, but it would be funny if she just did not get a level 3.
Oh, and it was just unplayable?
It was just unplayable. Yes.
You can never golden checkmate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, maybe there's some other card that interacts with ultimates, that says you can play ultimates regardless of their elemental requirements or something like that. It's more likely she gets a level 3, but it would be funny if she did not.
I hope so, though, because the Chessman deck is it's still not quite there.
I don't know if Golden Checkmate makes it quite there.
It does not. No, but maybe the level 3 is stacked with power. Maybe it's, well, at the very least, the cool thing is going to be Pantheon, and Alice fans can play Golden Checkmate in Pantheon, and it's extremely funny in Pantheon because it says you win the game when it hits.
That's true. And also, like Oblation CL will probably play some number of them as well, since it's another 15 cost card for Oblation combo. So like it makes that more consistent. So, regardless of whether Alice gets a level 3 or not, this card is actually somewhat likely to see play in Constructed Grand Archive because of that. So
yeah, very funny card. But just a reminder that Radiant Origins is coming. It's going to be a super cool set, and we've got deals for you at jwcards.com. So go ahead there if you want to pick some stuff up. Of course, hit your LGS up first. If they got stuff, get it from them. Hook the LGS up. Otherwise, if you need more, we got it for you. So swing on down. Thank you so much for your support. Taylor, let's move on to the main topic.
And that's that everybody has far too many cards in their hand. They've got just way too much influence right now.
Yo, it's crazy.
It's wild. It's actually kind of insane. So there's a little bit of like a cyclical kind of like shift that you see in the metagame as like the seasons go on, where people are all about like drawing cards, or all about pushing damage, or all about, drawing cards. And it kind of goes back and forth between the two.
Pendulum swings.
Yes. And right now we're very much on the like just draw all the cards swing of the pendulum. We saw 2 breakout decks, I would say, from London that were not super breaky outy, I would say, because neither of them won. 2
breakout decks, as in 2 of the most popular meta decks in Grand Archive in the last year.
I mean,
breaking out.
They were they kind of were breaking out a bit, because outside, like Seiryuu for the most part, which is one of them, right? This is a deck that is very strong, but it doesn't actually ever like win events.
Yeah, like I was corrected in a comment because I said it never won Ascent, and that was wrong. I forgot it did win Ascent.
It did win Taipei.
Yep, but that was the only one, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Maybe.
And no, I'm pretty sure that's correct at this point. Which to
can't trust myself anymore.
That is like 1 out of the like 7 Ascents since the release of Mortal or of Abyssal Heaven. So like that's not the worst conversion rate over a lifetime.
The release of Abyssal Heaven is more than 7. It's got to be more than 7.
So London, Manila, Aki, Taipei, Boston, Worlds, Seattle, and then there were a bunch of Nats in there. Oh, Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur.
I think that's 7, including Ascent Worlds, right?
Math is hard. I don't know, but whatever. Okay,
whatever. It's like 7 or 8. It's just not that
10
many.
Or fewer.
Yeah. So like
somewhere in there.
That's actually not that bad of a conversion rate for a deck, but like for the deck that I think a lot of people over the past, 3-4 months would say is by far the best deck of the format. Certainly doesn't like put up the results to kind of back that up, I would say. Despite, everybody's playing it, and I think that's really where like the best deck of the format moniker is coming from, because it's the most popular deck in the format currently. But in this case, like popularity just does not equal power.
I think one thing that causes it to be so highly regarded for people is really just how it's a deck that keeps a lot of other decks honest. And by that, I mean, it's just going to put raw power on the table. It's not hard to achieve the raw power that the deck offers. So much is built into this dragon. So many people know the line with the level to 3 Seiryuu's command and wreck, then attack with harness lightning, attack with dragon, Byaku's command in main. Like that's the 40 damage line. That's the one. And like when everybody knows the line, they cannot beat everybody else. But the harder part is knowing how to stop the line, which is, I think, where you see at the highest levels of Ascents, you see more players now who both know the line and know how to stop the line. And that really pushes the average a little closer to the middle rather than just relying on the like outlier, just boom, boom, win game, kind of gameplay that a lot of people unfortunately have to deal with.
Yes. And what is really interesting is that for London, TM32 brought a Seiryuu list that is like quite a bit different from the norm, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of these Seiryuu lists are pretty focused on like having the ability to turbo to 3, transform Seiryuu, do the 40 damage line, and you have like an ally backup plan. And we've seen that kind of evolve a bit with like Royal Oathguard, allowing you some very strong allies once you hit level 3, right?
He's cool.
He is very cool. And that's a pretty good backup plan because like there's a few decks that are like pretty prepared for Seiryuu and can stop the dragon, but don't necessarily stop the onslaught of allies very well. And TM32 kind of just like threw all of that out the window completely. There's no brisk Windtrotters here. There's only 2 Async Protectors compared to like the 3 you see from most other lists.
And they're not there to attack. They're there to bounce allies.
Yes, exactly. They're there to get your Windmill Engineers and your Baby Green Slimes back into your hand so that you can replay those and draw some cards. Because like here, the big thing is that instead of playing Lost Providence or Quicksilver Grail, they decided to play the Looking Glass and Unmake Duality and just lean into drawing a bunch of cards from the get-go. So this is like really cool. They even have Candlelight Hourglass in the material deck. And I think this is just a bounce with Baby Green if you don't see a Forest Cake early.
Mm-hmm. It's your Baby Green target.
They have Escape the Wreckage as well. Like there's just so many ways to recycle cards and move cards in your deck. And their whole goal here is to just like accumulate a ton of influence so that when you do want to flip your Seiryuu, you have the ability to play a Recall Inquisition as well as hold up an Incapacitate to protect it, clear the way for Seiryuu, and then you still have the influence to play like Harness Lightning and Byaku's Command to deal a ton of damage.
And they pulled out some of the command slots in the deck and the slots that are normally dedicated to the kill combo cards, because if you draw more cards, you just eventually find them anyway. So you don't need to run the additional copies. And because you're running multiple incaps and you're running the regals, you're just going to protect everything. You don't need multiple copies because your opponent's not going to stop you, because your whole goal is to only actually go for the kill with this deck when it is 100% guaranteed. And you can watch that gameplay happening in the finals match between Superior and Liftersill, where Superior just never gave an opportunity to Liftersill, except when game 1 he eventually did, but just very rarely gave an opportunity for Liftersill to have that completely safe attack in. And so he just waited and he waited and he waited until he got milled out.
Yep. Yeah, that was quite the match, by the way, because like if you're looking at this deck and thinking like how do they lose, that is how like they like Water will just grind them out. The Water Tamer list specifically with Fractal Polar Depths will just grind them out, and like there isn't a good way for the Seiryuu deck to actually stop that. Like TM32 wasn't playing Nullifying Lantern because like Genbu has not been popular.
Who would? But you can't name anyone.
Yeah, even with Nullifying Lantern, like that's just not a good answer for the long term, because Genbu will find some Unbroken Mustangs and like kill that thing. And sure, like you can suppress the Lantern for a turn, and like try to protect it, but then also like that it leaves an opening for the mill strategy to happen then. So there's just like there just really is not a good way for Seiryuu to answer that, I think. And that's another reason, like quick aside, like this list for the most part has existed card for card since the release of Mortal Ambition and like, or Abyssal Heaven, I mean.
Yeah.
Like basically all Seiryuu lists have,
except for Unmake Duality.
Unmake Duality and Regal Inquisition are pretty key cards in this list specifically that did not exist. But like Seiryuu basically has been able to exist in some incarnation since then. But like the reason we didn't see it a lot before Distorted Reflections is because like Wind Luxem and Genbu were such huge predators to it that it like you just feasibly could not play that game.
Yeah.
But now that we're past that, you see Wind Luxem's not like a deck anymore, and Genbu has like mostly fallen off as well. It's not nearly as popular.
Like Seiryuu, that's why Seiryuu's been able to like run rampant the past few months. But end aside there. So yeah, anyway, this list is just like this TM32 list is quite innovative, I think. And like we even saw in the tournament how it handles Tristan in a completely different manner than like how we were planning to. Like we were planning to like stick a Shimmercloak assassin that's hard for Tristan to deal with and like just pressure her on the board and make her life miserable until she had to expend so many resources into surviving that, like that Seiryuu becomes a fairly safe play and you don't have to worry as much about ensnaring fumes. Whereas here, like they just sit back and Tristan is like slow enough, it's just not going to pressure them well. And so they sit back until they have enough cards such that they can regal, get rid of Tristan's ensnaring fumes, get rid of her other like threatening cards, and then you can go for lethal that way. And it works like incredibly well. I think for the most part, the TM32 players had, I don't know if they lost to a Tristan throughout the weekend, and they did have a draw. Like Duck Hats drew Draco Will in the last feature match, but like that's it, right? Like it had a very, very strong Tristan line. And like again, you're kind of just like, what are the weaknesses of this? And you see that Genbu is one of them, but it's just this is just like kind of a paradigm shift here from how you look at Seiryuu before to now. Like you're just going to draw all the cards.
I think what strikes me the most about this, both this and when we're going to talk about the other one, which we kind of forgot about, but we started talking so much about Seiryuu, but Fractals, Caven's Fractal list is the other one. Both these lists are doing something that's really interesting. The lists are different. And there are a few things that are somewhat key. The addition, obviously, of Unmake Duality and Looking Glass, the addition of Candlelight Hourglass. But there are going to be games where you don't see those components or you don't need the Candlelight Hourglass or something that are going to look identical to any other Seiryuu deck, what any other Seiryuu deck could be doing. But, and I started to hint at this a little bit in the meta update video, but there's only so much time. And I was already going for like 40 minutes for that video.
That was a long video.
But, yeah, they when I start covering 9 decks, it's like,
exactly. Yep.
Still less than 5 minutes a deck, which is so that is so fascinating because you could sit down with the like one of the Seattle versions of Seiryuu, which were super unrefined, super just like turbo oriented. And you could get
they
an
were
opener.
all packed with 4 Maindeck Scatter Essence, by the way, because of Fractals.
That's true. But you could get that opener and you could just like, if the opener has most of these same cards, you could just go, I'm not going to level to 1 turn 1. I'm just going to play this. I'm going to back up Charger. I'm going to do this stuff. And you could build a gigantic influence, just kind of to what you were saying earlier, Taylor. It's that this is a different play style that players have just simply chosen not to explore in the metagame kind of until now. And like you adapt the deck and you add in more options to like make it more consistent, but nothing has ever stopped anyone from going, I'm not going to level to Seiryuu right now. I'm going to actually back up Charger. I'm going to draw and I'm going to go to Seiryuu now, or I'm going to go to, Guoja now, get the Fate Stone out. And then I'm going to draw more cards and then I'm going to draw more cards and just have this gigantic hand. And it's just been remarkable to see how you take a matchup like Tristan and you go, yeah, well, we've always said it's Tristan favored. It's not huge, but it's Tristan favored. But we played that match just straight every time. But when you switch how you play and then you added a couple things to shore up the influence and you added a second copy of Incap or whatever, then suddenly it's like, I don't think it's Tristan favored at all anymore.
Yeah. Like this, it looked like they had a very, very strong Tristan matchup. And yeah, like you said, the strength of this list is that you can sit there and you can draw a million cards and not worry about what the opponent is doing until you overwhelm them. You still have the line, however, of just turboing to Seiryuu and like beating them down if that presents itself, right? Like, and which I think is like still the line you're taking against a lot of the aggro decks and more aggressive decks in the format, such that you're just like, they don't have a good answer for it. And if they can't kill you fast enough, it's becomes very difficult to kill you through Seiryuu still too. So like you have a lot of the strengths of the previous list plus this brand new strength of like how to play it. And like you said, we saw that a lot with Caven's Fractals list as well.
Same thing
in this same same event, which is again like kind of where like we're seeing this shift happen of people just generating influence and using that to like flex on their opponent a bit. Caben put a lot of time into this list, I think, and just like realizing that there's a new way to play this here. But this is the same thing. This is playing the Looking Glass and a bunch of unmake dualities. It also includes 4 copies of Acquiescing Rejection.
I love this card so much.
The card is so good. It was like fine before the rule change, but now with the rule change, in addition to all this other stuff, it's like very, very good now.
Yeah, this card, again, audio listeners, if you have forgotten about this card, is a 4-cost action that allows you to give the opponent the choice to either acquiesce to your rejection or not. If they can either allow their thing to be negated, their card of any kind, or they can allow their card to go through and you draw 2 cards, which is what Caben says and what I like to say. This deck now has 11 Pot of Greeds in it. It has 11 cards that just say draw 2 on them. Because if you would do something like acquiescing your opponent's unmake duality where they already had to sacrifice their Looking Glass, well, you're both drawing 2 is what's happening.
Yep. It's very, very strong. And so now oftentimes with this deck, you're going to do the same thing where like you have the option of just not like playing a fractal on turn 1. And oftentimes you won't. And instead you'll like hold up Acquiescing Rejection or, play a unmake duality or just get ready to like backup charger or whatever. Right. And you're just going to generate a ton of influence. And then you're going to start playing your fractals. And then at that point, now your Zhongzhaos come online and you can draw 2 with them as well. So you just have this steady stream of cards and fractals. Whereas like previously, before Dissonant Fractal especially was banned, your goal is just like jam as many fractals as possible. So you're preventing like a lethal board state pretty soon. And then you have plenty of ways to like recover that influence still with Zhongzhao and the rest of your material deck to really get what you needed and Lost in Thought. Now you generate that influence early, and later on you do have the opportunity to present like a lethal board state out of nowhere, but you also have a lot more influence to try and control what the opponent is doing as well.
I want to just, because Taylor won't say it, but Taylor did win our regional with the fractal list as well. So he has a lot of personal experience taking what he saw Caben doing and putting into practice that he's relying on for this conversation too.
100%. Yep. So yeah, I was pretty excited to see like what was happening here. Cause I was like, yeah, this is exactly what fractals needed to like stay relevant in the new meta game. And I think a lot of this is like why it was not quite as good in like Boston or some other like DTR meta events. Just because it wasn't playing Acquiescing Rejection, and it was more difficult to do that in that meta too, right?
I mean, imagine the Boston meta with the rule change that allows both players to play something on turn 1. They go Rile, you go Acquiescing, and then you play fractals from there. Look, Taylor, you and I are on record. We were okay with Rile. Not everyone was, but we were okay with it. I think the meta would be very interesting to explore with Rile the Abyss right now with these water decks, especially. And it's fine that it's not there. I'm not going to complain about it, but like, there are just so many interesting things that like, once you start exploring how to play the game, different ways to play the game. Like Caben and TM32, they both impressed me so much in this event with presenting this new way to look at these decks, this adaptable strategy that's very different than what everybody thinks is the thing to do. It's so cool. And and it just got me so excited for Grand Archive. Not that it takes much, because I'm always super hyped for Grand Archive, but like, man, it's awesome.
100%. Yeah. It just like, it completely kind of like rotated the format on its head and presented a completely new threat that takes kind of a different mindset and different strategies to beat. Right. I think Tristan is kind of in the same vein of this deck that like wants to just maintain an influence and like exert that and, not fall behind on cards or, continue to move forward on cards. But like Tristan doesn't have the tools necessarily to do what this new Seiryuu and Fractals lists, what they're doing. So it's going to naturally, I think, start to fall behind what's going on here. And you're still going to have like some decks in the metagame that are still very strong. Like Water Diana is still
able to present a lot of damage very quickly. Fire Aetherwing Diana got juiced from Mortal Ambition Altar. That's like a premier turn 2 kill deck. Like there's still just like a ton of aggressive decks that are going to be pressuring, and like CL also can play like this influence game, I think. So like there's a lot of different things you can do still in this metagame, but like we see here, like I think these two decks are kind of the decks to beat for the moment. And Genbu obviously is like still going to be very good here. Like it's going to present a lot of problems for both Seiryuu and Fractals as well, considering how easy it is for it to run Beastbound Boots and Safeguard Amulet and even Quicksilver Grail if it feels it needs to, right? So like there's a lot of things going on here that that can be played.
We just talked about Nico too, like another deck that just can present a long game winning strategy where it says all I need to do is connect with a single Ravishing Finale, and what, you drew half your deck already? Interesting. Well, I guess the rest is in your graveyard.
Yes. Yeah. And you have a 4/12 Taunter in my way now. Okay, well I have an 8 power, 5 damage or 5 cost attack I can play to help me remove that in addition to my like Magebane Lash that has 4 power plus.
Yeah. Oh no, the dragon, I have to attack it. Shoot.
Yeah. So like I think there's a lot of strategies just that inherently will put in a bit of work against these decks that can be played. But like if you are not willing to like swap off a Water Diana, if there's still some like you still are trying to get into that, or maybe like Windexia Jin you're trying to get off the board, right? How can you still beat like these high influence decks? And I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Like there's some tools that are not currently being played that might be useful. So cards like that just like limit hand size, cards like Mirrorbound Covenant and Mandate of Honor are both like have certain restrictions that make them like more or less good, but they're both cards that you can totally play. And I'm not sure if they're amazing or not, but like Mirrorbound Covenant, I think Tristan actually plays that super well because she plays pretty well at that like kind of like 7-8 influence mark. So she can like get to level 3 and drop that. And then now all of a sudden the Seiryuu player is like kind of boned actually, because like the whole point of that deck is to have like 20 cards in hand and now your hand size is 7.
Right. So Mirrorbound, just again for our audio listeners.
Thank you. Yep.
2 cost unique Fantasia. On enter, drawn to memory. Exalted. That's the important part. 2 cost Norm Exalted, unique Fantasia. On enter, drawn to memory. Each player's maximum influence is 7. And then it clarifies that as each player's end phase resolves, that player discards cards from the hand or memory until their influence is equal to their max influence. Because the game has normally does not have a max influence, but this like introduces a max influence mechanic to the game that's just checked at end phase.
Yep.
So yeah, like that is the only restriction for that card is that you have to also it's exalted. So you have to unlock an advanced element of some kind, because this is not a distortion that gets cheated in with all of our other cats and such. And yeah, like that means that card decks like Nico aren't going to be interested in that, obviously. And there's a lot of decks that there's some decks now. A lot of decks like going to 3 these days is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And it's very reasonable to consider that, like, okay, well, if, we watch these Seiryuu decks, we watch these Fractal decks, God, take a drink every time Caben doesn't level to 1. You're going to be gone before the end of game 1.
Oh, because Caben hates leveling to 1 in the first place.
Dude,
and
he will level only if he absolutely has to, and there's nothing else that he can possibly do right now. Then I'll go, fine, I guess I'll level. And then the Seiryuu deck, like I said, like it's amazing watching it play, so different than every Gojo deck that just tries to level fast. Just, okay, backup charger. Okay, Thurible. Okay, like I'm enfeebling orb. I'm not leveling. I'm not gonna. But that means that there's room for you to go, okay, I'll play a strategy that levels, keeps enough influence, and then puts down Mirrorbound Covenant as quickly as I can. What do they have Fantasia hate? I don't know that they do.
They probably don't at this point, actually. Not right now in this format. So that's like, potentially an answer. Mandate of Honor too is we mentioned that one. That's a 0 cost regalia. As long as you control a unique ally, each player with influence 8 or more
8 or more can't draw cards. So it's not like a hard hand size limit, but if you hit this early and you have like a Cheshire Cat down, it's going to be very difficult for the Seiryuu player to cycle their baby greens and forest cakes and windmill engineers. It's going to be very difficult for the fractals player to draw to. Well, maybe less so. They can just start dropping some fractals. So this is maybe not like a good fractals answer, but this is like a pretty decent answer for like Seiryuu, for Tristan's, for like anything that's going to, kind of just hover there, right? If they don't have a good Cheshire Cat answer, it kind of, this mandate's really hard to turn off. So
Cat's a really good call out. Also, I want to mention, just because we're talking about brewing it, but Huashang is really hard to get off the board.
That's sticky. It's very sticky. So
any sticky ally like Sadie, is what we've seen used with this in the past and can be played in any class to do that. But yeah, like I want to see some people brewing with Jin and Huashang.
Yep, same. And we've seen Tithe Proclamation be used against like Merlin Kingslayer in the past.
Oh, the ancient past at this point.
The very ancient past at this point. But like that's an oldie but a goodie that stops, a lot of these cycling cards. Like you being able to stop the Fractals player from using a Regalia to draw a card, drawing from their draw step, and then also playing like a Zhangzhou to draw 2 more in their main phase. Like just limiting that is like halfway decent. So these are all cards you're going to want to like back up with pressure because they can all be answered or kind of gotten around in some way, shape, or form. But these are all things that you could do if you don't want to like hop to Nico or hop to Genbu or hop to a different deck that like isn't worried about how many cards the Seiryuu or Fractals player is drawing.
So Taylor, I need to back you up just for 1 second because I've had some really nice comments lately that have reminded me that in some of our episodes we do of all our podcasts we get a little jargony. Yes. And I know what you mean when you say this, but I'd love if you could just take a second to clarify what you meant when you said these are all good, like if you back them up with pressure. Can you describe that exactly, where that part, what that means and how that makes these work compared to not?
So these aren't like 100% you play this card, win the game cards, right? Like you can't just drop a Mirrorbound Covenant against a Seiryuu player and expect that to be that, because like the Seiryuu player is still left with 7 influence, which is enough cards to hit you for 40 damage with a Seiryuu's Command and a Byaku's and a Harness Lightning, right? Like that's plenty. So you need to like play these cards, which are going to disrupt them, and then also back them up with a proactive game plan of your own, whether that's attacking with allies, whether that's trying to land a Shadow Strike for a lethal or anything like that. Like you need to be actively working to end the game after you play these cards, instead of just like hoping you draw into something useful in the meantime, because they're not just going to like completely halt whatever your opponent is doing. They're just going to like put a roadblock in their way, an obstacle in their way that they can get around in some amount of time. It might not even be that much. It might be like 1 turn, right? Like, that could be enough to give you that opening you need, but that is not enough to like just end the game on the spot.
Right. And like, it's a good example of, again, this Jin brew in my head that exists where your Huashang goes into play and then you put a Mandate of Honor out. And now you are able to push your 6 damage attacks, swinging with Huashang. You got like a 9 damage turn lined up pretty easy. You're slamming the damage in. You're putting float in the yard right now. The Huashang wakes up with vigor. And because that attack only costs you 2, you're holding a Reclaim up still. And you're at like level 1 or 2, whatever, whenever you're doing this. And you're at the point now where the opponent has to do 3 things at the same time. And until they do these things, they can't draw enough cards because they have to answer the mandate. They can try and get rid of the Huashang, but you're going to make that difficult. You're going to pitch stuff and prevent it. If they get rid of the Huashang, they turn off the mandate and they stop some of the pressure, but then they're spending everything doing that and you're holding the Reclaim up. So they can like spend the whole turn. Okay, Reclaim Huashang, my turn, Huashang. And then the problem's still there. And in the meantime, even if they manage to do all those, you just put a bunch of float in the yard and you go, okay, now I'm going to level and now I'm going to start doing more. So it's like, you always have to think in this like 2-prong approach. Like, honestly, it's chess. The best possible moves you can make are when you fork your opponent. You do this and you say, cool, you can do this or this, not both. I'm going to take something.
Yep.
That's the thought process you need to have with these answers. It's not just like, well, slap a mandate in and you just win the game. It's not going to be like that. But it should impact how you're looking at these decks and thinking about ways that you can have a deck that does things, but then slot this in to just fork your opponent and make them have to deal with too many things at once.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Speaking of, that's why acquiescing rejection is so good, right? Is because it's a fork on its own.
Yeah. Like if the opponent has to choose correctly, and it's actually surprisingly hard to choose correctly with acquiescing.
It is, yes. But you also have to like use the correct target for that, right? If you are spending your acquiescing rejection on their windmill engineer, that's a pretty easy one to just let them like get negated, because they're like, okay, if I let this resolve, you draw 2 cards, but I only draw 1 card. So that's actually like worse for me. So it's pretty easy to just say no. But if it's like a Cheshire Cat, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Fractals player. Now you've got a more difficult like equation to figure out in your head. Do I give the Fractals player 2 more cards, but like potentially let them find an answer to this Cheshire Cat? Or do I keep this Cheshire Cat around, like, and keep this Cheshire Cat around and pressure them and like threaten to end the game quickly? Or do I let this go away because like they aren't going to draw the 2 cards in, and like that means like whatever else I have in hand is going to help get across the finish line. So these, you have to be setting up these opportunities to like take advantage of the decisions your opponent has to make. And then finally, kind of like the last card here that might be like another one of these roadblocks that's useful is Blinding Lapse. This one's a bit more niche because specifically Xander and Seiryuu, one of the problem decks itself, are the only ones that could actually play it at the moment. But this is a 3-cost action from Mortal Ambition Altar. That's Luxem, a cleric spell. Target opponent with influence 9 or more puts all cards from their hand in their memory, and then that player banishes 3 cards at random from their memory. So there's a lot going on here. This is going to basically create like the ultimate opening for you, right? Like this is doing what you want Regal Inquisition to do. When you're hoping to like not see any interaction from them at all, instead of hoping to not see, you just take it all away because their cards are all going to be in their memory now. And then they banish 3 cards as well to like set them back a bit if you can't kill them this turn. So this is like a lot of nice things going on here, but also it's something you're going to see in like Seiryuu mirrors for the moment, and maybe like Lux and Xander will play this into Seiryuu as well to help buy some time for them.
I mean, you were talking earlier, you mentioned Wind Luxem wasn't really played right now, but Wind Luxem is a card that can generate a lot of influence, and has some other interesting benefits that Fire Luxem doesn't necessarily have. And it can play like an aggressive ally game if it wants to, and Fire Luxem doesn't know how to do that at all. And I could see this card coming in and just like shoring up those late game matches where Wind Luxem gets to the point where some of the other late game decks just are going to be kind of superior to it, but then it can go, well, actually now you don't have a hand. And that, I mean, like another way to fork the opponent is to play this while you also put out something like a Mandate of Honor as protectors. Like, okay, now you go down and you can't go up. And now, you're kind of like setting the stage again. But I think a lot of the time you just want to put their hand down and kill them. Which is like,
I mean, this works out really well with like a Blinding Lapse into a Slice and Dice line is pretty powerful, right? So
and that's not a lot of influence at all. That's a 7
card hand.
Yeah. Like you could have been playing a Mandate of Honor with Sadie backed up in your Wind Luxem, right? Where it's like you're limiting them a little bit. They finally answer it. They take their opportunity. They go to 9 cards in hand. You go, cool. Now you lose.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of things you can do here other than just like kind of like, joining them and trying to draw all the cards in the world. Like there's still some options on the table, I think. And I think that is something important to keep in mind too, because like oftentimes there's a bit of like an arms race when we get into these situations where we see new decks that are just drawing a million cards. It kind of, a lot of players will default to like, okay, how do I match that? Right? How do I
have to do that too.
Yeah, exactly. Like how do I also draw a million cards? What do I do? Well, you might not necessarily have to do that. Like there are tools to fight against that as well. If you want to draw a million cards, be my guest as well. Like that's a very effective way to play Grand Archive as we are currently seeing, right? Like I'm not going to knock it because it's taking second place at Ascents and winning regionals and being very powerful. But there's options is really all I'm trying to say. But you have to be ready for it. You can't just like ignore these decks at the moment. Like they're going to be forces in the metagame, I think, for the foreseeable future through the rest of the season. Because they are just so powerful and have so much like strong interaction themselves.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate your point. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but like you're making a really important point here. So just to rephrase it for people, you can definitely draw cards too, if you want to, like, and nobody on this podcast is going to tell you not to do that. Cause boy, do we love drawing cards.
I did specifically that. Actually this weekend it went really well, right? So like I'm here for it. I'm here to draw some cards.
But that said, we want to just caution against drawing cards being the default for everyone, because that will work for a little while. Eventually then someone's going to come in and they're going to do the thing that beats drawing cards, and you're going to go, why didn't I win? I was drawing the cards. And yeah, like the game is big enough, it's deep enough, it's flexible enough right now for a variety of things. If you don't want to draw the cards, maybe try one of your favorite mid-range strats with one of these options that we laid out and see how that works. Or go for a tried and true aggro Diana. Do you know how many turn 2 kills this deck has? It's ridiculous how many ways this deck can deal 15, 19, 20, 24, 25. I have 25 damage lines we've laid out with this deck on turn 2. And it gets to like tutor the top 6 cards to find them for some reason too. And it like pluses when it does that. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, honestly, with the deck. But I do know that if Ranger Strides does end up getting banned, it's going to lose a lot of its damage lines too,
unfortunately. But I mean, like that specifically is like a pretty good check on like this TM32 list, right? Because like if this is a list where you don't want to necessarily go to Goja on turn 2 every single game,
you can't baby green.
Yeah, you can't baby green the Trivariate Dream Away. So there's options is all. Like as you're getting ready for events over the next like month and a half, just try to be the TM32 in the room and the superior in the room. Don't be like the main deck in the room.
Don't be the main deck in the room. I was going to say that. Thank you. Yeah. Like these players were so heads up this weekend. They went into like, this was our takeaway. Literally we had me, Alex, Taylor, we were in the airport. We're talking about this. We're like, we were bested this weekend 100%. And like, we recognize that TM32, insane. Superior, it's in the name, right? True Champion Gaming. Well, Isaac brought Wind Allies. That was cool.
That was pretty wild, actually. That was very cool to see.
That was fun.
Day 2'd with it, by the way.
Day 2'd with it. Yep. But Caben, I mean, that was a next level fractal list. So like we saw that and we sat down and we said, we got to get back in the tank. Like we're going to fall behind because these guys are on the next level. We're currently behind there. So we recommend to all of you, take from what we discussed here, your own lessons, and try to be the next level yourself because, I mean, the race is on. There's so many good players in this game showing us how to do it. Let's try and get ahead of them now.
Absolutely. And that's been episode 49 of the Recollection Step. That means next episode is going to be episode 50. So we'll get back to you in 2 weeks with the big 5-0.
We have so many plans.
We have infinite plans, I would say. Actually,
we
have so many plans. It's going to be very difficult to decide which one I think we want to go with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. That. Stay tuned to my socials. I might, if we have a plan that requires you guys, I'll post it in the next week. But there's been a lot of stuff happening. And so we just did not sit down and actually plan this out. But we're going to come up with a really cool plan for 50, probably.
Yep, absolutely. So get hyped for that. And we will, we'll see you then. We'll see you in the big 5-0. Thanks, everyone.
Big 5-0. Bye, everyone. Hawaii 5-0.
Ooh. Should we wear Hawaiian shirts?
I don't own one, but that wouldn't stop me. I could get one.
You could totally get one. You're very close to Sabres.
True. There's probably plenty there.